tuned in to The Andrew Lawton Show.
I want to talk about what Peter MacKay called the stinking albatross around Andrew Scheer's neck, which is social conservatives in the Conservative Party of Canada. This rhetoric was echoed by Conrad Yakubowski in a Globe and Mail column in which he says that, like clockwork, the Tory stalking species known as the stinking albatross returns to Canada each election season after wintering in warmer climes where the culture wars occur year-round. He is taking aim at Cathay Wagantall, a Conservative MP, who introduced a private member's bill that would ban sex-selective abortion, which is basically abortion that is decided for the sole basis of someone not wanting to deliver a child of a particular gender, almost exclusively because people do not want daughters, for various cultural reasons, all of which are rooted in a very misogynistic view that females are less worthy of living than males. And in doing so, she has... And by the way, Cathay Wagantall has always been a very reliable pro-life member of Parliament. She's never equivocated on this position. She's always been very transparent, and her voters in her riding have rewarded her by re-electing her time and time again. And she's decided that she wants to take aim at this problem, which we know is happening. There's not a lot of research on it, but it does very much occur. And I am, as a pro-life person, slightly concerned with sex-selective abortion restrictions for two reasons. The chief among them is that it tends to mask the problem. If you believe that abortion is wrong because it takes a life, it shouldn't matter what the motivation is for it. The reason I say that is because a bill like this makes it seem as though the intent is the problem more than the actual outcome. The other part of it is that I feel that, and this one is something I'm of two minds on, frankly, it almost is more of a political push towards pro-life policy than anything else. And the reason for that is because it may well be effective. There are lots of people in Canada who are pro-choice. They would identify as pro-choice, but when it comes down to it, they would oppose sex-selective abortion. So bills like this tend to appeal to those people, but in a lot of ways, I almost feel that they mask. Again, if you feel abortion is wrong, they mask what is wrong for reasons that have nothing to do with intent. So it ties into the reason I already mentioned. But at the same time, I don't want to question Cathay Wagantall's motive. She's been a tireless advocate on this file. She believes what she believes. But it's interesting that now the existence of a pro-life MP in Erin O'Toole's Conservative Party is all it takes for the mainstream media to say, oh, well, Erin O'Toole's got that hidden social conservative agenda. I mean, look at this story. Look at the photo used for the story. It's a photo of Erin O'Toole. The entire analysis is based on this idea that Cathay Wagantall's bill is that stinking albatross around Erin O'Toole's neck. And a lot of the critics of Andrew Scheer, of Erin O'Toole, of Stephen Harper, they're not good faith critics of this. They don't actually care about whether the leader is pro-life, whether the party will officially back any policy that's pro-life. They don't want pro-lifers to exist in Canada at all. And they don't, therefore, want any pro-life politicians to exist. And Erin O'Toole, who literally said in no uncertain terms, I'm pro-choice, I believe in abortion rights, I've always believed in that, here's when and why I started believing in that, here's how long I've believed in it, I'm not going to do anything, and he's still getting hit with story, oh, well, the stinking albatross is back, because an MP from, I think, Saskatchewan introduced a private member's bill, which, by the way, most Canadians, even those ardently pro-choice, would agree with. So this is why conservatives should never play by the left's rules, should never play by the mainstream media's rules, should never play on their terrain. And this is true whether you're talking about a carbon tax, as we were last week, and it's certainly true when you're talking about social policy. This is what he writes. Eventually, a future conservative leader must understand that playing to the SOCONs is a losing strategy, period. It might help you win a leadership race, but it will leave you with a stinking albatross around your neck of which no amount of flowery perfume can disguise the stench. This is the mainstream media's characterization of people who value life. And one of the things that I found interesting is that pro-life candidates that seek the conservative leadership, whether we're talking about Leslyn Lewis or Derek Sloan, they didn't say they expect it to be a socially conservative party. They wanted a party that simply respects that social conservatives are in it. And if the Liberals were authentic about representing Canadians, they would recognize that they preside over a country that has social conservatives in it. So whatever the group is, and again, statistics tend to be a little bit tricky on this. My friend Scott Hayward of Right Now has done tremendous work at trying to really look at genuine public opinion on this. And he points out that 82% of Quebecers support restricting sex-selective abortion, and 67% of Quebecers support legally restricting late-term abortion. And that's just one recent example. 84% of Canadians support legally restricting sex-selective abortion, and 70% of Canadians support legally restricting late-term abortion. This is very valid, up-to-date polling that suggests the mainstream media position, the Liberal government's position, the elite narrative is distinct from what ordinary Canadians think and feel. And you may think, okay, well, the Conservatives still have to win over people by getting their message out through the mainstream media. Sure. But I do want to believe, and perhaps this is an overly romantic notion, that voters reward authenticity. And when Andrew Scheer couldn't give a very clear position on abortion, which was, well, yes, I'm pro-life, but, I won't touch it. And but my member, no one knew, even pro-lifers had no idea what he was saying. Whereas Erin O'Toole has given a tremendously clear position on it, and the mainstream media coverage is identical. He's clearly pro-choice, and the media coverage is, oh, well, yeah, those stinking albatross, stench pro-life people, they're dirty, smelly people, no party wants them. That's really what Conrad Yakubowski is saying. By taking Peter MacKay's metaphor and just extending it beyond the point at which any metaphor should be extended and still keep its original meaning. So what we have happening here is the beginning of the age-old conservative dilemma of feeling like their problem is not being conservative enough. And I'm not trying to preach to anyone right now on social issues. Whether you're watching and you're pro-life, pro-choice, doesn't matter to me. But understand that the conservative movement in Canada has people who believe this. And as we see from party conventions and internal races like nominations and leaderships, there may be more social conservatives than non-social conservatives in the Conservative Party, but at the very least, it's not a fringe group. And if you look at national polling, it's not even a fringe group in Canada itself. It is just painted as fringe by the people that believe they have a monopoly on which ideas are worth discussing and which ones are not. If you liked watching this clip of The Andrew Lawton Show, True North has lots more for you all over at www.tnc.news.